minutes later, you've got this fellow in front of you.
Mhm.
And he's only about 6 feet away, you know. And this is line foreplay. This is the female came and joined them, and they had a bit of a snuggle up and a snarl, and then we got down to the serious business. And again, we're only 6-10 feet away, which is quite amazing. The animals there just totally ignore the vehicle, you know. And they're very sociable, the cats. They're very, very sociable in their group. This was part of the quite a famous pride, the Marsh Pride. You've probably heard about them on the TV. This was the Marsh Pride. Bless you, Rob.
Thank you.
No idea what this guy, female, no, it's actually a male, because I think in the Savo, a lot of them don't have the big manes. So that's a male, this is a male. I don't know what was annoying them, precious little. This was a half-hearted chase. The lioness obviously wasn't very hungry. She just made a few bounces and then stopped. Luckily for the boar, or the warthog. And Gilroy was here, marking his spot, marking his territory. And this is what death looks like if you're an animal. Again, she was stalking us, but she obviously just putting on a show for just behave yourself kind of thing. I thought this was very amusing. It could be a deck chair, you know, instead of just sitting on a log with her big backside up in the log. Quite enjoying herself. And this is the Marsh Bride again, looking for, they're obviously in the hunt here, they're looking for a victim, you know. As they came close a few times, they stalked a few animals when we were there, but we never actually got a chase and a kill, but you know, you can't have everything. This is the old man having a sleep after his ordeal. And when I first went, I thought, I'm not going to photograph lions. God, you can see them in the zoo, and you know. But when you're there, it's a totally different fish. When you're 10 feet away, 6 feet away from a big lion, he's impressive. This was at another place. We went to like I said, the idea was to have a week in the national park and a week in the Marsai Mara, but the national park had went downhill. So our driver recommended that we go to another park, and this was the park where Elsa the lion was sort of documented, you know. But I mean, they're very difficult to see sometimes. If, you know, if they want to be hidden, they can be hidden, and you wouldn't know they were there until it was too late. And there was one day when I was in the national park, these two women got out their cars, and they were about 20 yards away from the cars. And I said to them, I said, are you bloody idiots? You don't know if there's a lion in that grass behind you. Gee whiz, you know. But, so they got back in their car. But beautiful animals, beautiful animals. She was watching an impala, and she stood and watched them for a good 10 minutes, and then set off to try and get closer. Obviously, I desaturated all the lioness. Makes her stand out. This is the national park. He just came walking out, and he came right up to the car, about 5 feet, like I said, it's so close. And they just ignore the vehicles now because they're so accustomed to them. You know? white rhino, they are, we were in the Savos and we couldn't find any rhino. This was in the National Park, where I was lucky enough to find some rhino. And the white rhino are quite a docile animal, but not the same can be said for the black rhino. They're about 40 yards, 50 yards away, and you felt quite safe. They weren't going to charge, you thought, you know. But of course, they're getting scarcer and scarcer. They're getting poached to death for their silly horns, you know. Sad. Again, desaturated some of the colours just to make the rhino stand out. They're that colour because of the mud and the dust that they roll in. This is the black rhino. As I say, he's a different kettle of fish. He'll charge you in a heartbeat. And we had to keep the engine running because to make a quick getaway, because he did actually make a charge, but we were long gone. We said to our guide, this is the Masai Mara now. We said to the guide, you know, we're like cheetahs. Well, within an hour we had cheetahs. We're like a leopard. Within 2 hours we had leopard. He just knew where everything was. He could just go and almost find anything you asked him for. So this was a small family, just the mother and a young cub, sheltering from the heat, you know. And the mother's not getting any peace. Now this is another, we asked him another day for another cheetah, and he took us to 2 males. And the 2 males were just lying sleeping in the grass. We thought, is there any more? So he took us to this cheetah. He said, no, there's a cheetah with cubs. So off we went. And within half an hour, we were photographing this cheetah with our cubs. Like I said, he was worth every penny. It's always been my favourite cat, I think. I've always wanted one for a pet when I was younger. Because the young cubs are just absolutely gorgeous. They were under the shade, so I was trying to catch a little bit of light in the face, if possible, you know, just to highlight the face. And the young cubs were playing as usual. They were climbing this tree and sticking their heads out, which was ideal for photography. And the beauty of, if you're on an organised trip, you've got to go where the driver takes you. And you might only be 10, 15 minutes with anything, and then he's off. Because their idea is to get as many species in one day. They really don't care about how long you want to spend with them. When you do it yourself, we spent over an hour with these cheetahs. And that's the huge difference between an organised thing and doing it yourself. Plus, doing it yourself is half the price. I mean, you can hire a vehicle, no problem. And you can stay with an animal as long as you want. I could have taken that home. This was another morning. Again, we just missed the kill. When we got there, it was all over and it started to eat. She's had her belly full. This was our first leopard. And it took us 2 hours. When we got to the area, we just sat and we watched and we waited. And And he says, right, we'll try further up here. And we went up and there was a leopard. And luckily it sat in a nice position, nice trees and nice light. And the walkabout and the thing is, the guide knew where they were going to, so we were always there kind of before them, you know. And it made a huge, huge difference. We wouldn't have got half the stuff that we got had not been for that Maasai guide, Edward. I think this must be one of my favourite shots some time. It was in this bush chasing a mongoose. And it took him 5-10 minutes to actually catch the mongoose and obviously eat it. But every now and again he would sit and look out, and luckily this time just a bit of light in his face, which is just ideal.
Brilliant shot, that one.
I like that's one of my favourites, I think, Trevor. Yeah. Just the kind of shot you dream about, but to actually get it, you know. See, I mean, that's the same place, but it's not as good. Just the position's wrong and it's not as good. And this is another leopard. She came out for a walk, and you had to just kind of follow them and try and judge where they were going to go. And this was our last leopard. When the last day we were there, we said, any chance of another leopard? So he took us to a different spot and got us a different leopard. And when we got there, she was having a drink out of the puddle there, the little puddle, so having a drink. And then she got up and started to walk. And the guide said to the driver, go round here, go round here. And we went round, and sure enough, 2 minutes later, the leopard came walking through the grass. Then decided to lie down right in front of us and have a wee snooze and give herself a clean. And again, we were with this leopard for easily an hour. Absolutely stunning animals, absolutely gorgeous. And I got out and tickled her belly, you know, but she killed me. But you just feel that you want to get out and just give her a tickle, you know. I thought I should appreciate it. Absolutely. The eyes and just absolutely beautiful cats. We were very, very lucky. To get a serval was just sheer luck. We were just driving along and we spotted the serval, and even the guide says, oh, very, very lucky to get this. And we didn't get her along, she only about 5-10 minutes and then wandered off. But we got a few shots. That was her heading off. But they're quite rare seemingly and very difficult to find. The jackal, that's our African foxes kind of thing. There's always quite a few of them. This was in Savo. There's a water pipeline comes through Savo, and it's got several leaks. And the leaks turn into water holes, and everything has to come for a drink. This was at a kill. I think there's just a kill in there, I think. Or what was left of a kill anyway. And the last lioness did not approve, and she gave it a wee charge. Again, she stopped, but just enough to put the jackal off. And then he showed his disapproval. And tried his luck again. The plain zebra, they were always good fun. They're always doing something, fighting or biting or kicking. And the biggest problem with keeping up with them, like I said, they wouldn't stand still, you know, which was good for me. I enjoyed it. A bit about the third one, I've been better without him, but no. Quite like that one. That's I'm having a fight. Like I said, if they fight all day long. And the Masai Mara is a huge, huge place. And even after, I'm so glad we got a driver, because even after a week, I said to the guys, you know, we've been here for a week, I still couldn't find my way back to the campsite. I had no idea where we were. But I like the zebras, they were quite good. They were good fun. And the mother and foal. And again, this is back at the water hole. Everything goes for a drink. But there's always one or two lookouts. They're never all drinking at the same time. I like the way they were all lined up with their heads down, and the red soil helps as well. The soil is very, very red, so all your elephants here are red. And you can see the dust on it was terrible. You had red cameras at the end of every day. This is actually him walking across the road. Again, mother and foal. Getting separation sometimes was difficult because you don't want huge groups or anything. You want to try and get some separation in them. And this is the Grevy's zebra. You can see the difference. The stripes are a lot narrower. And again, there, I think we only saw about 2 or 3 in the whole time we were there. So they are quite scarce again. This was our camp. This is the doorman at our campsite, the Undalolo. And there's no fences, no gates, nothing. Anything that wants to walk in can walk in. And quite regularly, the elephants would come walking through the campsite. This is a big pool. Again, they're that red colour with the dust, by the dust. And it's against the grass, they really stand out against the grass. This was a place called the Kandari Swamp, but it wasn't much of a swamp. It had been dried out, so there wasn't a lot of elephants there. It's the same place, meant to be a swamp, but it was almost bone dry. But the grass was still green, so. It's amazing how they want to eat sticks like that. I suppose they're just chewing off the bark maybe, but talk about roughage. And it's nice to see quite a few tuskers still going about, you know. The West Savo was very, very good for elephants compared to the East Savo. I might get that the wrong way around, actually. I might be the Eastern, but I forget which is which. But one has a lot of elephants and the other one hardly has any elephants. And there's a huge contrast in the growth. One place the trees are ripped to bits, and the other place the trees are quite thick. But they're quite impressive animals. This just as we were leaving the campsite early one morning. We were only yards from the campsite and saw this little group. And luckily the light was in the right direction, so really nice. And that's a closer up. This is after the mud bath. I keep thinking, she said, does my bum look big in this? Enjoying the mud bath. Really enjoying it.
Mm.
And then once you've been in the mud bath, you have a nice rub down with dust. And you can see the colour of the dust. That's how you get red elephants. Again, that's how you get red elephants. Enjoying the water. It's nice when they come sort of walking towards you, better than they're walking away from you. And she's obviously scenting the air. She can smell us, probably. A big bull, not too happy about us. But the thing that scared me most in Africa was the elephants. I mean, you don't want to mess with the elephants. And we went to one place and it was down by the river. And but to keep the engine running, because we weren't too happy. You think of elephants as being sure-footed, but if you've been on the apple juice the night before, so you're just not quite so handy on your feet. And she took a tumble. And you can see how humiliated she is. She was very annoyed when she stood up, hoping nobody was looking. This is another bull. This was at the river. I was saying it was a very narrow path down to the river. And we just went down and sort of tucked ourselves into the side, and the elephants were walking past us. And they're scary things. This was at one of our lodges. And this is taken from the balcony of the place we were living in. And you would get an elephant coming down to the waterhole. And I quite liked you got the single elephant in the single tree. And the landscape all around about it. You don't want to surprise the elephant. He was a little bit miffed. And he really didn't want to see us. And if you annoy an elephant, that's what you get. This was our guide. This guy was our guide at where Elsa, I forget the name of the place now, where Elsa. And this was an elephant rangers. They had rangers looking after the elephants. And there was 2 or 3 rangers out in their vehicles watching the elephants, and 2 started to fight. And one bull gave up and walked away, but the other bull was still full of hormones and took his anger out on this Land Rover. As you can see, he mangled it. Luckily, the elephant broke the windscreen, and the drivers managed to get out of the windscreen and get into another vehicle and get away. Because you wouldn't want to be sitting in that with this bull elephant. There was tusk holes. There's a tusk hole there, right up into the cab, and another tusk hole under the floor. Right, just the power of these animals have just unbelievable. This was our armed guard. Not that we needed him, like, but no choice. He came with us, and that was it. But if that had been our vehicle, we'd have had to pay a wee bit of insurance claim on that one.
You're right,
Wildebeest. What's it called? The GNU. We were a little bit late for the wildebeest. The main migration had already been, but we still managed to catch a few hares. And they're amazing, they're just thousands. We wanted to try and get a crossing. And again, we were a little bit late in the season, but we managed to get one crossing. And it's quite something to see. They mill about on the bank for a while, maybe sat there for half an hour watching them, walking up and down, walking up and down. And then it just takes one to jump in and the rest just follow. And of course, the crocodiles are just waiting for them as well, for food. We didn't get any crocs this time, like, but the spotted hyena got the hardest bite of any animal in Africa or in the UK or anywhere. But they can crunch a bone just like cracking a peanut. I mean, he'll just devour most of that.
En fantastiska bilder.
They didn't do a lot other than eat and sleep kind of thing. And yawn. You wouldn't want your fingers on that mouth. Hippos, responsible for more deaths than anything in Africa. So you treat them with a great deal of respect. Especially when they're on land. We never had a problem, but you wouldn't go walking anywhere near them. And I curse myself to this very day. You should always be ready. You never know what's going to happen. Always be ready. And I saw this big croc and the hippo walking past, and I took that picture. And then for some reason, I took my camera down. And the next minute, the crocodile lunged at the hippo, mouth open, teeth everywhere, and I didn't get it. So a lesson there, always be ready. And another one came in. He was a big guy. He must have been 15, 18 feet. And the hippos. They're difficult. Sometimes they just stand in the water and don't do a lot. You know, you were actually hoping to get a fight or something, you know, and occasionally they would thrash about. Warthog, ugly, beautiful. Quite characters. I like the warthog, the tail's up, and they're so ugly, they're beautiful. And they weren't the easiest. We didn't get a lot of chances to photograph them. Just occasionally you would come across somebody, would come across you. I had to laugh. One of our party, I wouldn't mention, said, "There's something wrong with his legs." I thought, "Oh, me." I said, "That's the only way he can reach the grass." African buffalo or Cape buffalo. You don't want to mess with these guys either. I mean, they can be quite aggressive. We never found them. They just ignored us, but I mean, you can never trust them, you know. I don't think you can trust anything in Africa. They're wild. But you don't want a couple of tons of that coming flying at you. And these little birds, I think they're Kila, I'm not sure if they're Kila, but they go in the animals and look for ticks and insects and flies, and so they're a great boon to the animals, get rid of other lice and vermin. And this was in our campsite and Undulula, and the baboons were amazing. You had to watch them. Like I said, we had to pay someone to stay with our tents all day long, You wouldn't have a tent when you came back. And the secret is a catapult. There was one big yellow baboon came in to our camp kind of area, and I walked up to him and tried to chase him away, you know. And he just sat there and looked at me, and I got within 6 feet, and I says, "Okay, you win, I'm off." But the Rangers used catapults, and the minute a baboon sees you doing that, he runs because he thinks he's going to get a stone in the butt. But there was a woman camping there, and she had set everything out. You know, there was a little wall there. She had set all her food out and everything. And this baboon charged her, and she ran away, and the baboon had all the food. Yeah, if you can't get to the bits, just hold them upside down. Yeah, I know the feeling. Like I say, we're very close to them. They would come in about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and they would come into the campsite and just sit there. You're only about 10 feet. Yeah, quite amazing. And it's a hard life. Again, this is photographs you probably wouldn't get on an organised tour, because this is after our safari and we're back in the campsite and we're getting ready to cook meals when this guy come in. There's a troop about, I don't know, 40 or 50. So you need eyes in the back of your head for as far as your grub goes, you know, though. But they really posed well. You know, if you said, I want you to sit behind that bush and just look at me over your shoulder, okay. And the eyes, beautiful eyes. And the mother and the youngster. You'd almost think they liked actually posing for the camera. I mean, they were just very, very obliging. And kids will be kids. I think the one in the middle is a boy.
Yes.
This is a velvet monkey. I didn't see too many of them. And we only saw this one for about 5 minutes. But a bit smaller monkey, you know. Giraffe, they were quite common. Everywhere you went, there was basically giraffes. So again, you want to try and get some doing something or eating or fighting or something, you know. And how they manage to pick the leaves out of these thorns is quite amazing. You can see the damage done by the elephants. They're quite destructive. And 3 is always a good number. Again, a little bird delousing them, taking all the ticks and irritating things off their body. And this was, these are Maasai giraffes. And so different, you can see the difference in the pattern. If I go back, that's a regular kind of pattern. They're kind of jaggy. So that's the Maasai giraffe. And again, 4 drinking, 2 watching. That's how to stand when to get their neck down that far.
Mm.
I think these two were having a little spar, but nothing serious, just a little bit of fun. Even that wasn't a proper fight. If it's a proper fight, they can do a lot of serious damage. I don't know if you ever saw the documentary by David Attenborough about two giraffes having a fight. It was quite amazing. The Gerenuk, or the giraffe gazelle, they were quite amazing. They're like E.T. They can stand up on their back legs and their long neck. They can reach other bits that other animals can't reach. As you can see, it's heavily grazed down here, but they can get up to a little bit higher. Funny looking animals. I wonder how they keep their head up. That's obviously a male. And when they stand up their legs, they get to a fair old height. And they can stand like that and balance like that for quite a while. I love that close up, just like E.T. Big ears, long neck.
Yeah.
If that's a me, Amelia, I'm not in. This is the common eland, and these animals are huge. Yeah, I was amazed at the size of them. Way bigger than any cow. Absolutely huge. And this was in Nairobi National Park. I think that's the only place we saw them. The oryx, they were difficult to get a decent picture. We never saw too many of them, and they were quite shy. They would keep their distance, and we did manage to get a few pictures. And the topi, they were quite common. But again, sort of wanted to keep their distance a bit. That was the early morning. We camped just outside the park. You're not allowed in the park during darkness, during the night. You're allowed in at sunrise, so we were just outside the park. But we went in and there's a side, the Maasai side entrance, there was no gates around to go through. So we would set off about 6 o'clock and get into the park about 6:30. Waterbuck, they were quite a nice wee animal. It's a nice male, obviously. I like that, I just stood in the right place, you know. Had he been another 12 inches, he'd have been into the tree trunk, but you've got the total separation. It just stands out well, I like that. And the tilt of the head, just little things just make the picture a little bit better. And again, water holes are always a good place for any animal. Hartebeest. Again, didn't see too many of these. And again, they sort of kept their distance. But when you did see them, you managed to get a few pictures. This is the watering hole in Savo again, the pipeline. Mother and youngster. Two youngsters. Pardon me. Impala. A lot of them, obviously, and they were quite easily, quite approachable. Again, beautiful animals with their horns and just luckily the bird was flying through. They were obviously in groups, and got this one running down by the river. Must have getting with his feet in the air. He must have jumped over something. Just a pity is in front of that bush. They would have been good. That's nice. They were up on top of the little hill, so against the sky, which was good. And grazing. It must be hard to make a living out there because the grass is pretty much dead. Just little leaves here and there. But they seem to manage. And of course, they're always wary for. I mean, you get a line in this grass, and you know you're not going to see it. Always, even in the group, there's always 2 or 3 just watching. Again, you can get quite close to them. And the male trying his luck, seeing if the female's ready. But their coat, really beautiful animals. Nice coats on them. And then they would take off for some reason. It doesn't take much to spook them. Again, they're always nervous at water because everything goes to the water. And if you don't have your wits about you, you become dinner. And something upset this one and he took off. I just put that lizard in because it's such a beautiful lizard and he perched so well on top of that rock, you know. And you don't want to go swimming anywhere in Africa because you don't want that clamping onto your leg. There's a lot. There was a hotel. When we were in one campsite, there was a hotel just half a mile away that used to feed the crocodiles. And our guide took us down there one night, and you're sitting on the balcony, and about 7 o'clock, the crocodiles started to come out of the water up to here to get fed. Quite amazing. Thomas's gazelle, they were quite common as well. I should say when we were at that hotel, it was quite funny. Our driver really looked after us. He would, anywhere we went, he would barter for prices for us, you know. The guys that looked after our gear when we were away for the day, he would hammer the prices down. And one guy said, if you want a drink of Coca-Cola, he would go to the hotel for us. So every night he would go to the hotel and come back with a few cans of Coke. And he would put on an extra 5, whatever it was, you know, a few pennies to himself. And the driver found out and he tore him to bits. Don't you dare cheat my guests, you know. But we got the young lad who said, look, don't tell the driver. We don't mind. You're going down to the hotel for us. We don't mind you taking something for yourself, you know. So he did after that. We never had a problem. Again, stunningly beautiful animals. So pristine, just. The dik-dik, Smallest antelope in the world. You saw quite a lot of them. They're only about the size of a little dog kind of thing. They're not big at all. And difficult to get a clear shot because they're always behind a bit of grass or something, you know. But they were cute little things. Now, I think we've got time for this. I wasn't too sure how long that would take or whatever, so I put in some birds. There should have been a name on that. It's a negret, some description. I had to look them up because I'm not a birdie. I like the birds, but I don't know all their names, you know. So I had to go through the computer and look for names. And that's the same bird, same species. Ground hornbill, not the prettiest bird in Africa, but when it's walking about in front of you, you've got to photograph it. Secretary bird, they were quite amazing little birds. You know, they go hunting for snakes and lizards, and they just stomping them with their feet and kill them. They put quite a kick. And they're quite a big bird, which is handy because it stands above the grass. And their headgear, that's really good. The vulture, obviously you get a lot of them in Spain, but quite a lot in Africa as well. They do a great job of cleaning up the remains. It's an eagle. I'm not sure what kind it is. Well, I don't think it's a golden. I'm just not. I couldn't find out really what kind it was. There's a lot of eagles in Africa, and a lot of funny names. Yellow-necked spurfowl. Yeah, you managed to get quite close to these birds. These starlings were absolutely stunning birds. There's a few pictures later on. The hornbills were interesting birds as well. Several different kinds. Little bee eater. These birds are just absolutely stunning. The colours are, it's not the same kind that we get in Spain here, but vibrant colours. And this one, playing with an insect. And we're lucky you caught an insect there, and he sat in a nice log, and this is all just at the side of the vehicle. This is another eagle. I have no idea what kind of eagle it is. But again, he was 6 feet away. It's not a problem. You can go there with 200 lines. Not a problem. Crowned lapwing. They was, well, not so much that one, but storks were quite ugly brutes. But again, you know, worth a picture. He was quite a respectable specimen. The fiscal shrike. I don't know if they're called the butcher birds in Africa as well, but they had this habit of impaling their prey onto thorns. Beautiful little bird. The marabous there are quite ugly looking things, but not unless you're a marabou. Red-billed quella, aye. Thousands and thousands and thousands of these things. They're like locust. And there was this water hole and the bushes were just thick. You know, you could have thrown a stone, you'd have killed 6 of them. And of course, where you get food, you get predators. And this guy would just fly through the flock and just take one out of the air, just almost whenever he wanted. And then eat it on the wing. And of course the ostrich. I think that's the same type of eagle again, but I have no idea the name of it. I couldn't find any pictures of it. Again, you need a little bit of luck. He could have been at the back and all these branches in front, but he was actually in quite a good position. And the curry bustard. Again, a reasonable sized bird. And this is the superb starlings. They were actually are superb. I mean, the colours, they just shine, you know, and they just shine. How could you not photograph that bird? I mean? And the grey hornbill, which is a kind of a drab species of the hornbill, but beautiful in its own way. The bill has markings there, which is quite good. And the helmeted guinea fowl, very nice to eat, I believe. And a pied kingfisher. And again, you need a little bit of luck. He could have been sitting over there, or you know, he was sitting right on the edge of the branch, looking the right way and everything. Just. And the grey-headed kingfisher. And the great egret. And the spoonbill, that was at the same location, the spoonbill. Again, try to get a little bit of action, just taking off or doing something. And that's it, folks.
Well,